The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is May 8th, 2020, episode 195, and this week, Days of Noah and Bibi's Baby Microchips. And I'm your Bibi Baby Microchip, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Not sure why you'd want to be Bibi's Baby Microchip, but we'll get into those stories. We're going live on Face Like the Sun YouTube. Basil trolling all those people that hate googly eyes. Canary Cry Radio, YouTube, D-Live actually the first person to actually jump on the stream. So that one viewer on D-Live, welcome. And
You're
of course Twitch
special.
And Facebook, which is a dying tech platform.
Well, we got all sorts of fun people over on Facebook. We love all of our viewers across the internet. And thank you guys for tuning in. And again, as you heard in my pre-show announcement, we almost hit an average of 75 viewers over on Twitch. There's hundreds of you out there watching now. So if we could get 75 of you to average concurrent viewership over on Twitch, that'll help us out a lot. We're trying to hit partner over there, folks. We gotta shoot for something, because what else do we have to do? But more importantly, we've got all sorts of great articles and stories and things to catch up on. It's only been 2 days gone, and the news is as exciting as it's ever been.
Yep, people in the chat streaming and driving. There's tasty sourdough. There's all kinds of great stuff going on. Do you just want to get into it? Because we got a lot of stories to get through today.
Well, I saw some announcements to talk about at the beginning. Do you want to mention those?
Yeah. People always call us shills, so I thought I'd go ahead and make a t-shirt.
Uh-huh.
Shill for Christ.
Shills for Christ, bro.
Yep. So if you want to get your Shill for Christ t-shirt, you can go to the Face Like the Sun Teespring store and it'll be there.
Cool.
Yep. Also, just an announcement here, because I found this interesting. It just came across my desk here. But there is a survivorship ritual abuse online conference that's happening next week, May 15th through the 17th. And it just talks about, ritual abuse, satanic ritual abuse, mind control stuff. And I just thought I'd throw this out there because I know some people have suffered from that. And I know people have dealt with that kind of thing, or there are people out there who have dealt with that kind of thing or know someone that has. So It might be something interesting. I don't know all the people, the doctors here that are listed. I didn't do too much digging, but I saw this and I saw that there was a connection to a list of, satanic ritual abuse type of information. So just thought I'd throw that out there. And also wanted to, this is a giant picture of Ravi Zacharias. But basically he's going through a little, he's been going through chemotherapy. If you guys don't know who Ravi Zacharias is, he's a Christian apologist. He's probably one of the best out there in terms of defending the faith. Not everybody agrees with his views on everything in terms of it within the church, but he's one of those bold guys that just tears down a lot of atheist arguments and stuff. So pray for him, because I think it says here, I don't have my Facebook anymore, so it's prompting me to log in, but I shall not. But I think he's got a tumor or something that is pretty on his sacrum. And the chemotherapy is not helping. And, there's other alternative medication maybe he can try at this point. But anyway, pray for Ravi and his family. He's been very important in terms of defending the faith out there. And he's struggling with the tumor here. So just a prayer call out for people who want to, all those prayer warriors out there. And those are some quick announcements. Now we can get into the show. You ready?
Yeah.
Or did you have anything to say about?
Well, yeah, there's a couple things coming in on the chat that I think might be good just to put on your mind, and maybe we'll talk about it after a couple of stories here. People want to know what you think about the pandemic documentary, and both of us have some, what did I say? Yes, Plandemic. We have some thoughts. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Try to remind us. Also, we have a new Twitch follower who I'm very excited to give a shout out to. Cool Runnings, Mon.
Oh, that is awesome.
I know. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme.
Feel the rhyme. Yes, that was like a childhood. That was one of my favorite movies.
I had it on VHS. So I'd watch that all the time. Get on up, it's bobsled time, people.
It's bobsled
all right, and
time.
there was a couple of people asking for the Twitch link. So Gons, you can throw that in the chat. Twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. Go watch that because we're trying to get 75 concurrent viewers. There's hundreds and hundreds of you watching now, so we need some of you to head over to Twitch. That's because Twitch has a lot of great tools to help Gons and I support ourselves during this time without directly asking for donations, although we have some very generous people who will be giving shout outs to later on in the show. Okay, ready to jump into the show, Gons. Time for a Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. You know, we've been tracking the Bezos barkers, the Bezos robot dogs.
That's a good title.
Thank you. That was just right off the top of my head. This is on straightstimes.com. Robot reminds visitors of safe distancing measures in Bishan Ang Mo Kyo Park. A four-legged robot will be patrolling Bishan Ang Mo Kyo Park to remind people of safe distancing measures starting from Friday, May 8th. Called Spot, the robot will assist with safe distancing efforts at parks, gardens, and nature reserves managed by National Parks Board and at parks managed by town councils. The pilot trial is jointly conducted by NParks and the Smart Nation and Digital Government Group. The Spot robot will broadcast a recorded message reminding park visitors to observe safe distancing measures. It is fitted with cameras enabled by GovTech. Developed video analytics to help it estimate the number of visitors at the parks. The cameras, however, will not be able to track or recognize specific individuals yet. Neither will it collect any personal data yet. As part of the 2-week trial, Spot will be deployed over a 3-kilometer stretch in the River Plains section of the park during off-peak hours, and it will be accompanied by at least one NParks officer. If the trial proves successful, NParks will consider deploying Spot for safe distancing efforts at Bishan Ang Mo Kyo Park in the morning and during evening peak hours. NParks is also looking into deploying the robot at other parks, such as Jurong Lake Gardens. Originally developed by American company Boston Dynamics, the four-legged robot is able to navigate obstacles more effectively compared to wheeled robots, making it suitable for different terrains, etc., etc. So there you go. We finally let Spot loose into the public. And of course, you know, this social distancing is a perfect reason to deploy our robotic sentinels to walk around and make sure that us human beings are obeying our commands.
I'm gonna try to play a clip here of and I don't know if you can hear, but you'll be able to hear the actual voice of the robot dog.
Yeah.
Telling people. Give me a second here. It should happen now.
Let's keep Singapore healthy. For your own safety and for those around you, please stand at least 1 meter apart. Thank you.
Sounds like Greta.
Yeah, it
I don't know if that was on
sound
purpose.
like Greta. Sounds like a friendly little Scandinavian girl. Yeah, no, well, see, and that's the thing, man. This is, we always knew Spot was going to be the one. We always knew Spot was dangerous, ever since, you know, Boston Dynamics first started actually leasing them. That's how they get them out there. They lease them to governments and corporations. Yeah. And, you know, this is cute and it's fun, but it's also, this is like the worst. I mean, I don't want to be spooky about it, but I mean, it's literally a robot sentinel running around, keeping an eye on everybody and yelling at them if they're breaking the rules. And, you know, Boston Dynamics has always had the most terrifying videos of ninja robots. And, you know, they're the best. Boston Dynamics. Yeah. If it comes to, you know, getting robots around and making them capable of chasing human beings down, Boston Dynamics is the one.
I have a screaming baby in the background.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, if you need
That's
to take
not
a
gonna
baby
go
break, I can cover the show for you.
Yeah, go for. Well, I gotta switch the story here. I'm gonna switch to the next one. Go for it.
Yeah, hit those jingles.
Jingle. Hold on.
That's okay. This is fun, folks. This is the way that live works. So I'm not going to wait for those jingles if he's already gone. But this next story, we're breaking into some COVID-19 and CRISPR talks, both things that we've been tracking on the show. Let's see. This is an article from medcitynews.com. Fang Shang's Sherlock gets first ever CRISPR nod as FDA greenlights COVID-19 test kits. All right, so this is what everybody's been waiting for. Testing. The article reads, a diagnostics startup co-founded by one of the pioneers of CRISPR gene editing has become the first to receive Food and Drug Administration authorization for a product that uses the technology for a diagnostic test kit to detect the virus that causes COVID-19. You know, it's very interesting. I don't know if anybody else is noticing out there, but they have stopped calling it coronavirus. Now they all call it the virus that causes COVID-19. Very interesting. Just keep an eye out for that. The FDA granted an emergency use authorization to Cambridge, Massachusetts-based Sherlock Biosciences CRISPR SARS-CoV-2 rapid test kit, designed for use in high-throughput labs to detect the virus, delivering results in about an hour. The EUA is not a full approval, but is given on temporary basis in emergency situations. Several other COVID-19 diagnostics have also received EUAs, along with some drugs like Gilead Sciences' Remdesivir, which we've talked about in the past, and there'll be more to talk about. Strictly speaking, Sherlock's test works differently from the more well-known therapeutic applications of CRISPR gene editing. In a phone interview, Sherlock CEO Rahul Danda explained that it consists of two bases of guide RNA that are complementary to sequences of RNA in the virus and are attached to CRISPR-Cas enzymes. The guide RNA is able to detect the corresponding sequences in the virus, and if that happens, it will hybridize to them and activate the CRISPR enzyme, which then releases a detectable signal, producing a positive result. The company said that in patient samples, the test had 100% accuracy, which is a pretty extreme claim, considering that a lot of the tests that we've seen deployed already sometimes have 50-50. I mean, like exact chance odds of actually determining if the virus is present. Quote, what's exciting for us is that we're taking the very first CRISPR product through the authorization process with the FDA. And that is true. And that's another big step we're seeing in this story, which we'll talk about in a second. Donda said, quote, that to me is an historic moment for us. And we're even more excited that we're able to use that historic moment to address this pandemic. To obtain the EUA, Sherlock submitted information that included data on analytical sensitivity and limits of detection, as well as negative samples and contrived patient samples. The authorization has been anticipated to happen earlier this week, but was delayed when the FDA requested additional data. Quote, what we've seen is that the FDA has been dynamic and responsive here, Donda said. The more data that comes from new cases, the more information is being requested through the process. The company was started in March 2019, and co-founders include Feng Zhang of the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard University, South San Francisco, California-based Mammoth Biosciences, which we've talked about in the past, co-founded by fellow CRISPR pioneer Jennifer Doudna, is another company developing CRISPR-based diagnostics, and announced the publication of the study of its own COVID-19 diagnostic last month. Sherlock said that it is working to rapidly scale up production of the test kits and plans to share plans for distribution. Oh, that's nice. The plans to share plans for distribution and availability in coming weeks. The company is in conversation with a variety of large-scale manufacturers, finalizing production schedules, and will announce the partnership and the release of the tests, Donda said. The tests should be available by summer, he added. Access is major consideration, Donda said, and in terms of cost, the tests will be comparable to others on the market. They will mainly be available in hospital settings that test large number of patients as opposed to smaller settings like urgent care clinics, with the kit designed to allow for hundreds of patients to be tested in a given day. So there you go. Very interesting. There's all sorts of new testing coming out. This one unique in that it is one of the first actual approvals to come through in regards to a CRISPR product. Uh-oh, I have a cat sabotaging my microphone stand. So, again, going back to this, never let a good crisis go to waste. Formerly, no CRISPR products could be approved because of how much they just don't know about gene editing and the effects that it'll have in the long term. But of course, it took this COVID crisis to push through a CRISPR product. So soon, don't worry, everybody can have CRISPR. Just walk into your local hospital there. Fun thing, I don't know, Gonz, are you still there? Or are you doing baby stuff? Sounds like baby stuff. So I'll mention it to him before, but after this, I went into my doctor's office for just my routine yearly physical, which was interesting because I gave my doctor a call and said, "Hey, it's time for my yearly checkup. Am I going to be able to come in? Is it like, are you all locked down because you're, helping fix COVID people?" And they're like, let's see if we can find you a time slot here. Yeah, well, it looks like we can get you in literally any day you want this week. So it took 12 hours from my call to the doctor to get in. And I got my physical, and she just happened to be like, "Hey, so do you want an antibody test? A COVID antibody test?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? That's a thing you can do?" She's like, "Oh yeah, everybody's asking for it. Some people get it, some people don't." And there he is. I said on a show a few shows ago that I would be excited to get the antibody test, which some people thought that meant I was admitting to being the Antichrist. But the reason I want to get my antibody kit is because if I have the antibodies, then I don't need the vaccine. But so I don't know. I have a slip. I have a lab slip that I can bring to a lab and get an antibody test if I want.
Cool. Sorry about that. I had to.
That's okay.
I had to occupy the child here, but we'll play the jingle.
COVID.
CRISPR. Cas9.
Cas9. You got through the story, yeah.
I got through the story. Don't you worry. But yeah, so interesting thing, Gonz. This being the first, it was an emergency push through for CRISPR through the FDA, and it's actually the first CRISPR-based thing approved by the FDA. At least that's what this article says here. And why don't we have just a short back and forth, because somebody in the chat says, well, I lost it. Oh, I'm not really sure what y'all's issue is against CRISPR. It could cure cancer and save a lot of people. Thank you for the question, Syrian Soper. But the answer is right there in your question, which is it could cure cancer and save a lot of people, which is the PR line for pretty much every single piece of technology that comes out. You're talking about cybernetics, you talk about CRISPR, you talk about VR, you talk about anything. they all say it could help people who are sick, which is the sort of phase one for integrating a new technology that may or may not be for the best of humanity. And the problem we have with CRISPR is that it's very new. The side effects, the consequences of messing with human DNA is not yet known. There hasn't been enough time to test and check it out. And some people just have a general discomfort with, editing the DNA that we were born with. And so when it comes to this in particular, releasing a CRISPR, now with this test, I don't think this test is being put into people's bodies. I think this CRISPR is applied to a blood sample or something. But, in other cases, people are using CRISPR on when it comes to the biohacking community, they are using CRISPR in their own bodies. And the fact of the matter is that there's just no way to know what that's going to be. It's incredibly dangerous. And depending on your sort of worldview concerning, your God-given DNA, that can be worrying people. But yes, we do have a problem with that in particular. And yes, just because something can cure cancer or save lives, that's literally the first PR line that's put out for any new technology. So that doesn't necessarily... that doesn't mean anything. Anything could cure cancer and could save lives. But it's a matter of just not, eating the pap as it's spoon-fed to you.
Yeah, so it can cure cancer, but it can also make us post-human. And, in theory, they're going to be able to evolve us. And that's part of the transhumanist doctrine, is that we're going to grab a hold of human evolution and we're going to improve ourselves into gods and, that whole thing. So it's just a small step in that direction.
And the question asker says, I'm a bio undergrad and have read a few journals specifically on this and have had exams on genetic engineering. Well, you're on your way there, Syrian Soper. There's a lot of stuff to look into.
Well, that's a good point,
people
though.
Have the best intentions, but
I think it's a good, I think it's important to actually, people like that. I think it's important that, especially believers are in that field, because you can be a voice. You can actually be an ethical voice that hey, if you see something where it's it's kind of starting to sound a little Genesis 6-y or whatever, you can actually step in and say, you don't think it's a good idea, or maybe you do, I don't know. But in terms of actually, believers in that field, I think it's a good thing. I think we need more of that, because obviously the kits are out there and people are doing crazy things with it already. And, the consequences, like you said, we don't know. We just don't know, other than mythology. It's the only place we really see any kind of genetic tampering, so to speak. So
sure.
It's just keeping track of it. And obviously, with great power comes great responsibility.
And if question asker is a bioengineering student, of course they're going to have the potential to improve humanity drilled into their heads and save lives and cancer victims. And that's great. But also, consider taking, another view at things and see what the potential problems could be. So thank you for the question. All right, Guns, you want to hit another article?
Yes, do it.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
This is WashingtonExaminer.com. Law professor for speech control. And it says here, quote, in the great debate over freedom versus control of the global network, China was largely correct and the U.S. was wrong. So write Jack Goldsmith and Andrew Keen Woods, law professors at Harvard and the University of Arizona in the Atlantic. And they seem to mind, as their next sentence indicates, quote, significant monitoring and speech control are inevitable components of a mature and flourishing internet. Governments must play a large role in these practices to ensure that the internet is compatible with a society's norms and values.
Oh my gosh.
Oy, oy, oy.
Oh, this
so
is
much
a
for the
nightmare.
First Amendment.
Wow.
Hey, as Vox's Ezra Klein might say, that was written in the 18th century, and it's the 21st century now. So private firms such as Google and Facebook are censoring the internet in line with government policy, elite preferences, or international organizations. YouTube now pulls and refuses to permit videos based on recommendations by the World Health Organization. And that sentence is kind of weird. The organization, which early on parroted the implausible suggestion by China's regime that there was no human-to-human coronavirus infection. For those who find this alarming, they should remember that this is not the first time in history that a new communications medium threatened existing orders and thus became subject to what Goldsmith and Woods approvingly called speech control. Consider the printing press. We've kind of gone over some of those ideas before. Before Gutenberg constructed his contraption in Mainz, books were scarce, products of hundreds of hours of skilled labor, as pricey as jewels and as useful as everyday life. Gutenberg's innovation helped launch the 16th century Protestant Reformation and the 17th century scientific revolution. Again, that whole Protestant Reformation reference coming up over and over and over again.
Up quite a bit. That is interesting.
Very interesting. Hold on, I'm sorry.
And in mainstream, all these mainstream outlets trying to reference the Protestant Reformation.
Yeah, it's probably in the memo. Governments tried to limit the number of printing presses, but were undercut by the multilingual presses in the Dutch Republic and after Parliament allowed the Licensing Act to lapse in England. Printed pamphlets distributed anonymously in the newfangled coffee houses were a key communication medium in Britain's glorious revolution of 1688 to 1689. Anonymous pamphlets, as historian Bernard Bailyn definitively documented, sparked the American Revolution as well. Adoption of the First Amendment shows the founders' opposition to free control or speech control. That attitude has been tested. Censorship has been accepted in wartime, though not so much recently. Elites have deplored the emergence of widely available new media, the penny newspaper in the 1830s, movies and newsreels in the 1910s, tabloid newspaper and radio in the 1920s, and television in the 1940s. In the 1990s, as Goldsmith and Woods notes, Congress opted for an open internet, freeing websites from liability from content posted by others. The hope was that internet propagated free speech would erode tyrannies like China's, just as Pax Americana materials had helped erode Soviet satellite tyrannies in Eastern Europe in the 1980s. Now, Goldsmith and Woods argue, things are different. China has gotten so good at limiting the internet that our freedoms are obsolete. What? They cite two wake-up calls, Edward Snowden's 2013 revelations of government and tech platforms' collection of private data and Russia's interference in the 2016 election.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa, those two things in the same...
Real quick, before
so many things. All right, let's pause.
Before I forget here, I was looking into some history, listening to some history podcasts, and kind of meandering around the Kennedy situation, and it is well known, documented historical fact that Russians did things to get Kennedy elected. Apparently, the KGB was put on alert in the KGB agents that were stationed in America to actively look for opportunities and to gently propagandize towards getting Kennedy elected. And it worked. So, people talking about how Russians, mingling, messing around with our elections, that's been happening since Kennedy. And probably before that, Kennedy being a Democrat, by the way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure every big nation has meddled in some way.
That's what we do. That's what everybody does. Everybody messes with everybody's elections. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. I had heard, or I had encountered the documentation of Russians helping Kennedy get elected. It was very interesting.
And the United States intelligence agencies have most definitely meddled with many elections in foreign nations. As I don't have the clip on me, but that famous clip that we like about the guy when he was asked, he was I think he was former CIA or was on Fox News and was asked, "We don't mess with elections now, do we? Other countries' elections?" And he was like, "Yeah, num 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 num
num num num num num num
num num num num num." That was
all right. So back to the topic at hand. So they're calling. This person is trying to make a case that controlling speech on the internet is a evidence of a mature and evolved society, as can be as exemplified by China and its complete lockdown of its communications on the internet.
It makes our freedoms obsolete.
This is horrifying.
But Snowden revealed eavesdropping, not speech control, and since the Mueller investigation found no Russian collusion with the Trump campaign, it's clear the Russian foray were very small potatoes. Much less formidable than, to take just one example, British and Russian use of 1940s pre-internet media to elect or defeat President Franklin Roosevelt in 1940. What really seems to bother Goldsmith and Woods is the dissemination of false information and the questioning of government actions about the COVID-19 pandemic. But, as Atlantic science reporter Ed Yong writes, we are dealing with, quote, a pandemic characterized by extreme uncertainty. We don't know exactly how it spreads, how many have been infected, and what percentage of those have died. We do know that the WHO, the World Health Organization, upon which YouTube relies on, got things quite wrong, as, for example, whether the virus was transmitted human to human. We know the expert epidemiologists' models turned out to be wildly misleading. We know that some government orders, such as New York's command that nursing homes accept COVID-19 patients, have resulted in dozens, maybe hundreds, of needless deaths. Claims that, quote, science requires lockdowns are debatable given scientists' current ignorance about the virus and the inevitable ignorance about the negative health effects of eliminating cancer and cardiac screenings and elective surgeries, and of increased substance and opioid abuse following enormous job losses. Weighing these risks is the responsibility of public officials and of the active citizenry. When there are no clearly right answers, there is room for public debate. Speech control, especially when the controllers are the almost entirely left-wing employees of firms such as Google and Facebook, is attempted thought control. Goldsmith and Woods say that the internet is so powerful in its capacity to persuade and spread disinformation that speech control is warranted. The same thing was said about the printing press, about those pesky pamphlets, about movies, movie pictures, and radio and television. The founders had a different idea and put it in the Constitution 228 years ago. So I guess this author's trying to defend the right to free speech, which is kind of refreshing. Washington Examiner, good job. But scary that, you know, these authority figures, Jack Goldsmith and Andrew Keen Woods, law professor at Harvard, not really surprising with the whole, network of Ivy Leagues there, and the University of Arizona. Those are people. People pay a lot of money to go to those schools to learn from these people. But although I guess the whole education system is going to be flipped on its head with this whole COVID thing.
Yeah,
but
well,
in any case.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of those elite schools being basically the farm league for the NWO. That doesn't surprise me. So yeah, no, I mean it's interesting. It's weird, man, because it never used to be that like thinking free speech is a good thing used to be it never used to be a radical idea. People could never accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist or anarchist or some horrible name because you believe in free speech. And it's coming to the point where you're a weirdo if you think you should be able to say and think whatever you want. Which is unfortunate. I just gotta say, personally, I don't know how you feel about that, Gons, but I'm not not very excited about that.
You're not excited about free speech anymore?
I am.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things, free speech.
Yeah, I know. I obviously I'm for it because just in the last 2 weeks I've seen my own video about sin get taken down. Because I use the word
Can't
virus.
Say bad things about sin, Gons.
Well, not bad. I'm just telling people
racist.
About it. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, is anything in particular you want to go into in this story, or does it just kind of speak for itself?
I mean, I think it speaks for itself. The state of the country in terms of the division between those who just bend over for China, I guess is what's basically going on. And just communism. I keep saying this, but I think it's just remarkable because when I first started researching the New World Order and all that kind of stuff, it was around 2009-ish when I really, dove into it. I kind of, peripherally looked at it before that, but really dove in 2009, 2010-ish. And, the kind of writings that were there from the 90s and the 70s, even about the New World Order, they were all saying, hey, there's going to be this socialist communist takeover of America. And I was like, man, that's never going to happen here. Like, even in 2009, 2010, I was like, okay, Obama's in office and it kind of seems like it's going in that direction. But man, it's like, whoa, I didn't realize that it was going to be 10 years. I thought it would take longer, 10 years or so, a decade, to just go full on free speech is dead from our professors. It's just crazy. It's just insane.
Well, it's immoral. Free speech is immoral now, which is a good reason to get interested in the decentralized web, which we'll talk about in a second. Gons, I want to go through one more story and then let's take a little break.
Okay. Are we doing yes, we're doing the thing. Okay, hold on.
It will kill.
There we go. This is from Breitbart.com. Yale scientist reopening America is, quote, awfully close to genocide. A Yale University scientist argued in a social media post published on Wednesday that the United States government's plan to reopen America after the Chinese virus pandemic amounts to genocide of African Americans, Latinos, other people of color. Breitbart's kind of showing its colors there, sort of blatantly calling it the Chinese virus. They know they're going to get in trouble for that. Yale epidemiologist Greg Gonsalves criticized the U.S. government's response to the Chinese virus pandemic and its plan to reopen the country in a tweet that was published on Wednesday, suggesting that it would be, quote, genocide by default to lift, quote, shelter-in-place restrictions. Gonsalves also suggested that the government's response would disproportionately impact people of color. This is from the tweet by Greg Gonsalves. How many people will die this summer before Election Day? What proportion of deaths will be among African Americans, Latinos, other people of color? This is getting awfully close to genocide by default. What else do you call mass death by public policy? Quote, there we go. And here's another one. So what does it mean to let thousands die by negligence, omission, failure to act in a legal sense under international law? In another tweet, Gonsalves argued that government officials should face consequences for their response to the pandemic under international law. And then he quotes that same tweet I just said. Gonsalves' tweet was highlighted this week in a report by China's state-run communist publication, The People's Daily. Quote, an epidemiologist at Yale University on Wednesday launched one of the harshest attacks on the U.S. administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic, saying it was, quote, close to genocide by default, the report read. In a tweet on Thursday morning, Gonsalves said he was receiving criticism from the right-wing mob machine for his comments on the Trump administration's response to the pandemic. The right-wing mob machine is upset with me, getting threatening emails again, Gonsalves said. Quote, guess I should get with the program and say what a wonderful job the White House is doing on COVID-19 coronavirus. Nope, not a chance. Okay, if you say so, Gonsalves, you don't have to give Trump a hug.
I take exception with you pronouncing his name Gonsalves. It's Gonsalves.
Gonsalves. All right. Well, there you go.
Anyway,
just some more.
Dude.
It's freedom of speech, brother. All right, let's take a little break.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that's kind of the point here is like these guys can say what they want, but it's just funny how even that last article, if you didn't have free speech, you wouldn't be able to say even, those law professors wouldn't even have the platform to say it. Well,
he's on the good guy side, Guns. He can say whatever he wants because what he says is on the good guy side.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We got some people to thank Gons all across the internet. First of all, I want to thank everybody watching live right now on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or wherever you're watching. We love that you're here. Thank you for supporting the show with your eyeballs. Good numbers today, Gons. Liking it. And I want to remind everybody that, as we usually do, we want to encourage you to watch the show on twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. That link will be dropped in the chat here for everybody. Twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. And here's the thing. There's a couple of reasons to do this. One of them is we are essential employees of only this podcast and nobody else. So we got to do what we got to do to support ourselves during this time. And Twitch has a bunch of great tools that eventually will help us do that. But in order to do that, we got to hit some goals on the platform so they know we're worth letting into the club. So we're trying to get 75 concurrent viewers. That's an average of 75 viewers through the whole broadcast, which is a little tougher than it sounds. We'll occasionally hit 75, but our average last episode was 73. So we got to keep building that, folks. So if you're not doing it yet, go to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. And another good reason to do that is because, you made your YouTube account years ago and you didn't really think about your username. Maybe you just put in your real name and you kind of regret that, whatever the case may be. Twitch, you got to make a new account and follow. And this is your chance. It's your chance to make a better username. And boy, Gons, do we have some good usernames coming in.
Ooh,
I want to thank some people. You ready, Gons?
You ready?
Vitamin Kina. Thank you, Vitamin Kina. We got Busboy32. K4 Christ 77. Thank you, K4 Christ. Mongoose Mojo coming in hot. Charm01. Charmo. Thank you for being here. Oh man, I'm getting old, Gons. Hold on, I gotta bring this closer to me in virtual space so I can read this. There we go. This is hard to read. Ting Niliche, 1983. Ting Niliche. We got some Fletcher 153. Stin Simplo Team, 1972. Okay, right. Thank you. We got a fun one here. Maybe the winner of the day. Baby Yoda drinking soda.
I like that one.
Thank you, Baby Yoda drinking soda. I saw you in the chat a little while ago. Skyflower 627. Oh, here's a good one, Gons. Oh my Gons.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I feel special.
Fun. For the Remnant. Let's see.
For the Remnant.
Total Wrong Think.
Total Wrong Think.
Compiler Face.
Compiler Face?
Jang Dangler. And of course, we've mentioned before, Cool Runnings, man.
Yeah.
The Thundering Scott. All right, I think we're coming to the end of the little thing here. We got Jacob Ladder.
Ooh, Jacob Ladder.
Yeah, we'll give a shout out. We'll give some more shout outs later on in the show. But thank you guys for following on the Twitchers. And actually, I don't know
if I was going to say, I don't know if Susan. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Susan Wojcicki. I don't know if she's logged on. Also, I haven't seen Bill Gates official tune in today. And also, we're missing the real Pope Francis. So, I don't know.
Our whole crew of official. I was going to say, Susan Wojcicki, the real Susan Wojcicki, the one that runs YouTube, did an interview just recently for YouTube. And I just thought it was funny how the quality for the CEO of YouTube, like the quality of the video was really bad, and just I would expect more from the one, the person that's supposed to be running the whole YouTube thing.
Yeah, she needs to have Prime Video set up. Also, they haven't made it onto the list yet, but I saw a user named Basil made me sign up. So thank you very much for signing up. So there you go. And let's see. We have somebody to thank over on the Patreon. Just so everybody knows, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. We got a bunch of fun rewards over there and bonus episodes, all sorts of stuff. Good reasons to support the show over there. And since last show, we have one upgraded pledge, and that's from Valerie. Thank you, Valerie, for that upgraded pledge. That's the one thing better than new pledges is upgraded pledges. That feels really good. Thank you, Valerie. And it's nice to know that people not only took the time to help out the show financially, but took the time again to up their pledge. That's very nice. Okay, anything else you want to talk about in the break here, Guns? Oop. He might be
dealing with baby. Sorry,
that's okay. You keep doing what you're doing, because I will remind people that a lot of people don't like Patreon. I get it. They kind of had a little bit of some fuzzy decision making in 2018, 2019, and that's totally cool. If you want to help support the show, because remember, we're doing 3 shows a week now, folks. This is getting to be a pretty time-consuming project, but I wouldn't have it any other way. You can go to canarycryradio.com/support, and that is a great way to help us out. We've got PayPal, cryptocurrency, all sorts of fun ways that you can help the show out. And if commitment's not your thing, you can just do one-time donations there as well. Are you good?
I think we lost like 100 people watching on the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel while you were pitching Twitch.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, they don't like it when you're gone, Gons. They go there. They go to Face Like the Sun YouTube channel for you, not for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's. There's a kind of a big story out that we need to cover here, and let me hit the jingle and get to it.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
Jerusalem Post.
Real quick. Yeah. Somebody on the chat in Twitch, made a very long paragraph about, trying to make a point about how we're not talking about Jesus enough and questioning the reason why we do all of this. Obviously, it's not somebody who's spent much time with our work. Anybody who wants to question how any of this relates to the Christian worldview or Jesus or, the Bible or anything like that, all you got to do is spend a little bit more than 10 minutes looking at our body of work, and all those questions will be answered. So thank you so much for the question, but obviously shows that you haven't spent too much time with our work, and that's totally fine. We invite you to do that. We've got hundreds of episodes that will answer your question about how any of this relates to Jesus. So go exploring.
Amen. Yeah, that's a good point, because people comment and they don't realize that we've been podcasting together since 2012.
Yeah, trolls,
we literally have published, we've published, I think the number is over 450 individual episodes, some like between Canary Cry Radio, Canary Cry News Talk, Extended Reports, and Canary Cry Conversations. There's a lot of material out there that covers all that.
And I'd say the same thing to you, JR. Go take a look at our body of work.
This one, a very interesting story. Benjamin Netanyahu suggests microchipping kids slammed by experts.
Ooh.
And it's kind of a big deal. Cyber experts slammed Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for his proposal to microchip children who return to schools and kindergartens as the coronavirus lockdown is lifted. Ynet reported on Friday. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
While speaking at a press conference on Monday, Netanyahu suggested the health ministry use new technology to help Israel adjust to its new routine as the state is lifting its coronavirus lockdown. Quote, "That is technology that has not been used before and is allowed under the legislation we shall enact," he clarified. Quote, "I spoke with our heads of technology in order to find measures Israel is good at, such as sensors. For instance, every person, every kid, I want it on kids first.
Oh my gosh.
would have a sensor that would sound an alarm when you get too close, like the ones on cars. We're just cars now to Netanyahu.
Oh my gosh. This is
It will be
crazy.
hard to do to more than 1 million school children who return to their educational institutions in order to ensure one student sits at the distance of 2 meters from another. It is fictitious and dangerous, cyber resilience expert Einat Meron told Ynet. Quote, theoretically, I get the idea behind it, she said, but although such distance-sensitive microchips exist in vehicles, it is different in humans. According to Meron, quote, a beeping sound telling me I got too close to someone is not enough. Who says it will change anything? I would have gotten closer either way. That's true. Even if they have this like loud beeping sensor in everyone, it's just going to drive the teachers nuts.
Is that what they
It's
want
just
to
gonna be
do?
going
They
off.
want to make it like beep, like track
guess.
your distance from other human beings?
Yeah, apparently. The experts
is
added
crazy.
that the actual issue is the enforcement, and here everything changes. Marone told Ynet that microchipping children will not pass any test, both practically and legally. Similar to Marone's notion that notifying citizens on their distance will not affect their actions, many fear the state would make use of the information available from the sensors. Quote, if the information with the kid's location is uploaded to the internet, a pedophile with some cyber knowledge may invade the system and stalk them. Oh, what happened to my page? Somebody doesn't like me reading it or something. Whoa, it like reloaded as I was reading. Where was I? If it's uploaded to the internet, a pedophile with some cyber knowledge may invade the system and stalk them outside their schools, follow them, and distribute the information on other platforms, Marone said. Can the state take responsibility for that? The Prime Minister's office responded to the report, telling Ynet Netanyahu's suggestion, quote, is not to be implemented through databases, but through simple technology notifying the citizens about their distance. It is a voluntary option that is designed to help children keep their distance, like Mobileye with vehicles. The office added that the Prime Minister's suggestion is, quote, an idea that may help maintain school social distancing, and there will not be any violation of privacy. Yeah, that's the big concern here is privacy, not microchipping children. Anyway, on Wednesday, Walla reported the movements of all vehicles in Israel were tracked by police and stored in an unregulated database named Eagle Eye. A source cited by the media site said the information may be kept for years on end. The Association of Civil Rights in Israel, ACRI, reportedly submitted a request under the Freedom of Information Act that police disclose the extent of the operations of Eagle Eye, as well as the time the information on citizens' movements is stored in the system. Israel police responded to ACRI, saying the system's activity was not standardized internally despite several years of operations. Quote, either way, once finalized, the procedure will not be disclosed to the public, police added. In late March, Yediot Aharonot reported a classified Shin Bet, Israel's security agency, database stored information on all Israeli citizens and most Palestinians from the West Bank. The data tracked by the security agency included movements, phone calls, and text messages. So this is very interesting in light of recently I made a couple videos about why Christians should ditch QAnon. Mm-hmm. And part of the thing that I keep asking these QAnon folks is like, okay, great. I get the fact that we're trying to expose the whole pedo ring and the satanic elite and all this kind of stuff. I'm for that. I'm for getting rid of those people and getting rid of that network. And, Epstein didn't kill himself and that whole deal. But number one, what replaces it, or who replaces it? And number two, what kind of measures are you willing to accept to ensure it doesn't happen again? And part of my example was, are you willing to accept some kind of mass surveillance system by the white hats or some kind of microchipping of the children? And it's just ironic. It's very interesting that this story would come out, that same week that I was making these criticisms of the whole QAnon movement, at least in terms of, the outcome, what the end game is for Q. So there's that point of it. But yeah, this is there's a point being made with the whole Q thing, which is this is really the Satanists versus the Luciferians, these two right hand, left hand path. Whereas, the questioner from earlier asking, what does any of this have to do with Jesus? Jesus taught the narrow path. And it really becomes important to keep that in mind as the right-left paradigm continues to, evolve into what it is, where one side is like all satanic, communist, whatever, that whole thing. And then the other side is going to be more of this. It's going to be for free speech. It's going to be for the Constitution. It's going to have all the bells and whistles of freedom and that kind of thing. But the technology aspect of it, the variable that no one's really paying attention to, or at least not really understanding how it's going to affect both sides, it's the technology, and the technocracy end of it. And
Right.
so, bad move in terms of Netanyahu. I know a lot of people are Bibi fans, and they like Bibi, and they think that the United States and Israel should remain in bed together and all this kind of stuff. But eventually, you're going to have to realize that, again, if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, then the path is narrow.
Right.
And it's the solutions aren't going to come from any kind of political structure until he returns and really establishes, his rule, the new heaven and a new earth. So I don't know. What do you think, Basil?
Ooh,
Netanyahu
yeah.
calling for
No, I think you wrapped it
microchipping kids.
I think you wrapped it up pretty well. On another note, just to sort of round out some of the observations there. I mean, it's really interesting because you suddenly, in this whole coronavirus thing, and this, of course, we're pretty apolitical here. We're not necessarily cheerleaders for Trump or anybody really, but when we see something we like, we call it out. When we see something we don't like, we call it out. And recently, one thing that was getting called out for President Trump is suddenly his enthusiasm for vaccines. He starts coming out and saying, I love vaccines. I love them. They're the best. They're beautiful. Give me all the vaccines, which kind of, caused some waves. And, there's always been some parallels with Netanyahu and and Trump, and they've obviously had their sort of political friendship going on for a while. But I see this as sort of a similar blunder with Bibi. Just it's one of those things. I wonder if he even really thought about it before he just kind of came out and said it. You know what I mean? Because there's some things like that with Trump. You're like, oh, I think he's just kind of trying to fill up some airtime here and probably shouldn't have said that. But yeah, I can't imagine why anybody would think that suggesting microchipping all of our children, although I will say there's some particularly liberal people in America that would like to microchip our children as well. So I don't know. It's obviously a bad idea. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. But he makes a good point, and another angle of this whole thing is Israel being its own sort of Silicon Valley, and the economic force of its scientific research and its technology innovation coming out of Israel does make them sort of a prime testing ground for a lot of these things, similar to California in that way. I think when it comes to microchipping children, maybe Israel, but it may just as easily be California that starts that trend.
Oh, yikes. I don't know.
Yikers.
Yikers. Oh, wow. Lots of noise back here, but it's okay. I was recently telling someone on Twitter that there's actually a lot more conservatives in California than you'd think.
Yeah.
A lot of the whole liberal clusters are in LA and San Francisco, and there's a lot of farmland in between. In fact, If you drive between the two places, there's a whole section where you just smell cow.
That's why California is a large and fascinating place.
A big place.
I want to give you a little update, Gons. We have a new Twitch follower named, we made a call out that we wanted our elite friends to follow us. And
I think I know.
Bezos number one, not the clone, has started following us. Thank you, Bezos.
All right,
number
we got
one,
Bezos,
not the
Wojcicki,
clone.
the Pope. We got a good crew over there. This is
Francis.
fantastic.
We're still waiting for Elon though.
Someone's got to Elon it. Okay,
Elon. All right.
You know what? There's actually a positive story here, or I guess positive from our perspective. And where's my jingle for this?
I don't know. Hit it.
No, I had it here somewhere. I'm trying.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Where did it go?
hallelujah.
There it is.
Guns, you got to have those things on deck, man.
I'm
You
dealing
can't be
with
waiting for these jingles every time.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
That's
sorry. I got
okay.
distracted by the peoples. Okay.
Yeah.
Go
All
for
right.
it.
So
This is you.
we're from medium.com right now, titled Why We're No Longer Pursuing the Quayside Project and What's Next for Sidewalk Labs. This is from Dr. L. Doctoroff, fake name. No, Daniel L. Doctoroff.
Dr. Doctoroff.
For those who may remember, Quayside Project, well, we'll get into it here. In October 2017, Sidewalk Labs and Waterfront Toronto set out to plan a shared vision for Quayside, a fundamentally more sustainable and affordable community resulting from innovations in technology and urban design. Since the project began, I've met thousands of Torontonians from all over the city excited by the possibility of making urban life better for everyone. So it is with great personal sadness and disappointment that I share that Sidewalk Labs will no longer pursue the Quayside Project. Oh no.
Oh no.
I'm going to read a little bit more. We'll see if it has a good enough explanation in there. But I have a feeling a lot of people don't remember this. We're going to need to talk about the Quayside Project, Smart Cities Agenda 21, but now 35 or whatever it is. We're going to have to give the full rundown, Guns, so get ready. For the last 2.5 years, we have been passionate about making Quayside happen. Indeed, we have invested time, people, and resources in Toronto, including opening a 30-person office on the waterfront. But as unprecedented economic uncertainty has set in around the world, and in the Toronto real estate market, it has become too difficult to make the 12-acre project financially viable without sacrificing core parts of the plan we had developed together with Waterfront Toronto to build a truly inclusive, sustainable community. And so, after a great deal of deliberation, we conclude that it no longer made sense to proceed with the Quayside project and let Waterfront Toronto know yesterday. While we won't be pursuing this particular project, the current health emergency makes us feel even more strongly about the importance of reimagining cities for the future. I believe that the ideas we have developed over the last 2.5 years will represent a meaningful contribution to the work of tackling big urban problems, particularly in the areas of affordability and sustainability. This is a vital societal endeavor, and Sidewalk Labs will continue our work to contribute to it. On those fronts, we've already started innovative companies addressing urban mobility, next-generation infrastructure, and community-based healthcare, and invested, blah, blah, blah. I think they just kind of give themselves a bunch of pats on the back. Let's see if there is anything else.
There really isn't. It's just kind of...
a lot of fluff after that.
A lot of fluffy fluff.
You want to tell everybody what Quayside was?
Yeah, so Quayside, they're working with Sidewalk Labs, which is a division of Google's parent company, Alphabet. So this is Google driven, and they wanted to. I think Toronto here was going to be one of the first big time smart cities, funded by Google or sponsored by Google, and overwatched by the Alphabet agency, which is the company that basically runs Google. So we were kind of like, oh no, Toronto, they're going to be taken over by the techno elite or whatever. But hey, silver lining with the whole COVID thing, no more. Yeah. But you know what? It doesn't really matter, because the next story we have here sort of negates the whole thing. Well, which are you got any more to say about this one?
Well, yeah, I wanted to let people know, because a lot of people didn't know what this exactly was, and somebody here is claiming to be from Toronto, says that whole Google project has been halted because it set off many alarms here in Toronto with privacy groups, especially the Cambridge Analytica expose.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So maybe...
So the smart city, I mean, we reported on it when they were coming out with it, and, using the most advanced technological things available, including tracking everybody who is in there, and, RFID walking by a lamppost. The lamppost knows who you are and knows how bright to get because it just dials into your own personal. And they're going to do a whole, basically a whole small section of Toronto as sort of the test, the test place for all this super smart city, sustainable Agenda 21 type of, there's going to be a prototype of sort of the dystopian / utopian city of the future. But there you go. They're just announcing now that it's not going to work. And privacy being a huge problem that everybody was pointing out, including us. But also, it's that control mechanism. Does the technology work for us, or do we work for the technology?
Right. And it's actually, this is good because it shows that, smart people over smart cities, right? The people are smart. If you speak up, and if this is planned in your town, maybe you can avoid it a little bit longer. However, they're going to come up with different ways to get all the smart devices in everywhere. And this one we got a new jingle. I put together a new jingle, and it'll all come together, but it was based on Elon Musk's conversation with on the Joe Rogan podcast last night. And I just lifted a couple sections of Elon talking about his Neuralace and made a little Elon Cybernetics jingle. Are you ready for it, Basil?
I'm ready.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
We're already connected.
We're already connected. Oh, no.
TechnologyNetworks.com. Watching how the brain plans movement could help develop mind-controlled smart homes.
Yay.
So no smart cities. Hey, you guys are concerned about privacy. How about just a smart home where you can mind control everything in your house? It says here, walking across the room to switch on a light, such a simple everyday activity involves enormously complex computations by the brain, as it requires interpretation of the scene, control of the gait, and planning upcoming movements, such as the arm movement to the light switch. Neuroscientists at the German Primate Center, DPZ, Leibniz Institute for Primate Research, have now investigated in which brain areas the movements are coded. I find it interesting that they use the word coded for reaching distant targets that require both arm and walking movements, and how the movements are planned in the brain before execution. For this purpose, they have created a novel experimental environment, the Reach Cage. They made a cage.
No. That sounds terrifying.
First results with rhesus monkeys show that distant movement targets, which the animals have to walk to, are encoded in the same areas of the brain as close targets, even before the animal starts walking. They keep mentioning this, our brain stuff as just code, which is, again, it's sort of dehumanizing if you ask me.
Yeah.
This means that movement goals near and far from the body can be obtained from the same brain areas, no matter if the goals require walking or not. These findings could be harnessed to develop brain-machine interfaces that control smart homes. Yay! And kind of goes into a little bit more of the technology and what they did with the rhesus monkeys and how they basically are trying to figure out how to predict, because as an athlete, I remember vividly, like in my mind, thinking, okay, what movements, what angles I have to move with my body, and being very strategic about that before you actually make those movements. And I think they're trying to measure that in monkeys, and they're saying, hey, we can do that now with the people to make your homes smarter. So you don't have to flick that light switch to turn on the light, because I mean, who's going to have all that energy to do that?
Who's got the time, man? Who's got the time
Who's got the time and the energy to flip on light switch? Might as well jack in your brain so you can do it from there. So I won't read the rest of this. Oh, I got a little quote down here highlighted. The results show that motor planning areas of the brain process information about the goal of specific movements, even if the goal is at the other end of the room and a whole body movement is first required to get there. Okay. Alexander Gale, head of the Sensorometer Group, adds, quote, such knowledge is not only important to understand the deficits of patients who have difficulty in planning and coordinating actions, the new insights also might turn out particularly useful when developing brain-computer interfaces for controlling smart homes, for which goals such as doors, windows, or lights are distributed throughout a complex environment. You know, I got a question, Basil.
Mm-hmm.
For people that get, you know, they get the whole brain mind control device or whatever it is, and they're like living in the house or whatever, and someone breaks into the house, is that going to like freak out your brain sensors? Is that going to mess with your I don't know, your
Maybe
neurons or whatever?
Feel like they've broken into your mind.
Your mind is your home now.
Their little signal will be traveling around your mind sensors. Yeah, well, this is interesting. Anyway. The most interesting thing I find about this is that how close it's coming. I mean, Elon started to talk about it, you know, this being a reality in 5 years or something. Or, I mean, and before
5 to 10 years.
Yeah, even just a year ago. I mean, we are talking decades out, but you know, this could be a lot sooner than a lot of us think.
Yep.
Susan Wojcicki has to leave the Twitch. She says, sorry, everyone, gotta go. I have a meeting with the Dark Lords today. We're using Zoom. They would use. Only Sith Lords use Zoom. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, all right. You know, before we get too far into landing the plane, somebody reminded us to talk about Plandemic.
Oh, right. The documentary. You know, I watched it. I thought it was interesting. Some of the information wasn't too surprising in terms of the injustices and the what Paul and Philip Collins have called the scientific dictatorship, and just a very clear example of that from the whole AIDS pandemic to the coronavirus. Just having control of the patents and stuff like that. Although you were saying that somebody did a deep dive on the creator of the film, and there was some concerns there. Yeah, well, I saw. I have not watched Plandemic. I kind of have this. I'm probably wrong about it, but the feeling is that everything that's in there, I think I've already seen floating around. I have a feeling that Plandemic, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Gons, but it seems like somebody just put together all the information that was already out there. It was an interview. I can't remember the lady's name. We should probably pull it up. Yeah. It was an actually sit down. It was a sit down interview. I think the story has been out there, but I think this was the first time, you know, there was a virality behind it and people paying attention to this stuff now. So yeah, I mean, it was a sit down interview. Yeah. A lot of the information, I don't think it didn't feel new to me, but I didn't think anyone really specifically had put it together the way they had in the film. Although, again, I don't know. I haven't dug too deep. I just watched it. Actually, I was listening to most of it. I wasn't watching most of it. I just had my earplugs in, but... Got it. So the one thing that I did watch about it was somebody did a deep dive into the director of the film and kind of went to his personal YouTube and pulled a bunch of stuff. And you know, the long story short, the guy is just uber new age fella. And so he's like, the aliens are going to save us, that whole deal. I don't know about that far, but definitely like he's doing like third eye meditations with his kids and a lot of talk about meditation, a lot of talk about sort of spiritual oneness and energy and, you know, your basic sort of new age stuff. So first of all, you know, you got to always take into account the worldview of the creator of the project. Now, I am starting to get a little suspicious, Gons, in general, about these documentaries that are coming out and exploding and being referenced in mainstream news cycles. And you know, the just everything about it. I'm starting to become very suspicious of how a lot of these documentaries are making it out there, and the amount of people and attention they're able to grab, as well as mainstream airtime. I don't know about this, man. Yeah, well, it's interesting because one of the things I pointed out with my criticisms of QAnon was just that there's this new age it really appeals to the New Age crowd. And there's a bunch of New Agers that are really into the QAnon stuff. And part of what that seems to bring out, especially right now, is politicizing the New Agers and creating that divide and conquer method where you have like, oh, we're banning David Icke. You know, David Icke being Chris White has this documentary called David Icke Debunked from 2009 or 2010 maybe. And he talks about when David Icke claimed he was the son of God and he had some energy burst in his body and he felt whatever, connected to the universe and all that kind of stuff. So he gets banned. So now people are saying, and look, I don't think anybody should be banned, right? But at the same time, the systematic banning of certain people, especially that have a very New Age perspective, is very fascinating because it's definitely creating that division of like, oh, you're going to ban us? Well, that must be the truth when the people behind all that they're all New Agers. You know, they're all like the light. We'll be enlightened. We will ascend and become gods ourselves. It's a very, as a Christian, again, the whole, I just keep bringing it back to the narrow path. It's like, we got to stay really focused because it's starting to get really crazy with the division with the left-right paradigm, the Democrat-Republican divide, and now it's starting to reveal itself to be more of like a Satanist Luciferian divide. And so we just got to keep, stay sober-minded and keep an eye on this stuff. And I think you're right. These documentaries, it comes out at a very convenient time. And a lot of it is, and the systematic banning also seems to create that momentum of, oh, that must be true. They're banning it. It must be true. And certainly there may be some truthful aspects to it, but again,
and I got a couple of comments. One of them is you're talking about the politicization of the New Age. And I think on sort of a ground level, politics play, I think, much like what happened to the Christian, quote, voting bloc in the 50s. Before the 50s or so, Christians weren't considered a single political voting bloc. They were actually sort of transitioned into a voting bloc as far as politicians and campaigners are concerned. I think what we might be seeing is the activation of New Agers into their own voting bloc. And, let's just pretend for a second. Let's just play a mind game. What if these, and I don't know, I'm not going to put them on the same level, but, Plandemic being one of them and Out of the Shadows being another one.
Out of Shadows or Out of Darkness? I think I said it wrong in an email I recently sent.
Out of the Shadows, something like that.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat will tell us. Both of those documentaries, came out hard swinging, getting tons of views, and
10
then
million views in a few days,
disappearing and being re-uploaded and all this sorts of stuff, and then making their way into mainstream news reports. And I don't know, man, that's just very, I can't even really make a solid claim on this, but it seems like there's someone powerful behind those things, getting them out there. Now, I'm not saying just because they're popular, they're controlled opposition, but if there was some sort of controlled opposition, that would be an interesting way to go about it. But then, going back to Plandemic specifically, activating New Agers as their own, a cohesive, comprehensive voting bloc for the purposes of, an election year. Hello. And Plandemic, if it's able to get enough attention from, the comprehensive New Age voting bloc, might actually be a way to sway voting. I mean, I can only see it going in Trump's favor in that way. I don't see how that would, pull thing towards the Democrat side.
Yeah. It's that whole rat poison analogy, right? Like 99% is regular food and 1% actual poison.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. Okay, we got a couple more here, and I guess it relates.
I want to mention,
just
address something in the chat real quick. Chris Eichenlob over on Twitch says, I seem to have lost my subscription. Can I no longer subscribe to this channel? Chris, we are not yet approved for subscriptions. So go ahead and follow the channel. And once we hit our goals, we'll be able to do subscriptions to the channel. So thank you very much for asking, and everybody else should get excited about that as well. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's a very interesting.
It's
Twitch is just too twitchy for me.
It's got a whole lot of fun tools, and one of them is subscriptions. And I'm excited for when we get to that point. But we need more people to watch on the Twitch to unlock it for us. Okay.
Yep. Okay. This one, I think you can take this one here.
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Yeah. My man Elon, do you have a Four Horsemen jingle? Why don't you search for that for a second? Just drop it.
Anytime you see the Four Horsemen, it's something special.
Wow, that was the fastest jingle you've done all show.
I know.
Very impressive.
Had to make up for walking away earlier.
And we, you know what we didn't do? I mean, we talked about it, you and I, quite a bit, but we did not mention Elon's new baby. On the last show.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He clarified it at the beginning of the podcast last night or yesterday.
Everybody's heard. Everybody knows Elon had his baby with Grimes. And I was thinking, oh, wow, Elon finally had a baby. That's crazy. This is Elon's 7th child. So
yeah,
he has, the seven heads or the 7 horns have risen.
You know what he said too? He mentioned in the podcast, he said, well, first off, he clarified the name X Ash Archangel.
Yeah.
But also he said that he appreciated this one more because he's older. And I thought, if I was one of your kids and I was listening to that, I'd be like, what, you didn't appreciate me earlier in your life or what?
So
anyway, just thought it was interesting.
He did clarify it is X Ash Archangel.
I think so, yeah.
Wow,
he said that Grimes came up with most of it, and he came up with the A12 to reference Archangel. So that's his contribution to the name.
Good for you, Elon. Okay. I saw somewhere else. Okay. I can't remember if it was him tweeting or somebody else tweeting, but we won't be laughing so much at X Ash Archangel so much when he's the Emperor of Mars. When he grows up.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, speaking of which, here we go. RT.com. Elon Musk may have chosen a bizarre cyborg-like name for his newborn child. Just try pronouncing X Ash Archangel. But the billionaire entrepreneur says spoken language itself may soon become obsolete with the rise of new brain tech. Appearing on another episode of the Joe Rogan Experience on Thursday, the UFC commentator / podcast host congratulated Musk on the birth of his 6th son. Okay, maybe it was, 6th son. I'm pretty sure he has 7 kids, so maybe one's a daughter. But couldn't help but ask about the infant's unique headline-grabbing name. Quote, how do you say the name? Is it a placeholder, Rogan asked, drawing an awkward laugh from Musk. Well, first of all, my partner is the one that mostly came up with the name. She's great at names, Musk said, adding, it's just X, the letter X, and then A-E is pronounced Ash, and A12 is my contribution, which he says stands for Archangel 12. The CIA recon aircraft later developed into the SR-71 Blackbird, the coolest plane ever, which is, I've actually gotten to be inside of a Blackbird once.
In the air?
No, that's confidential, Gons. I can neither confirm nor deny that the Blackbird was in the air. As the conversation drifted into neural nets and artificial intelligence, Musk said Neuralink technology, a battery-powered device implanted directly into the skull, could be rolled out within the next year and potentially, quote, fix almost anything that is wrong with the brain. Eventually, in addition to curing disorders like epilepsy, he said language itself could be made obsolete thanks to the new tech and perhaps unpronounceable baby names along with it. Elon, let's see, that's an ad. Here we go. Quote, you would be able to communicate very quickly and with far more precision. I'm not sure what would happen to language, he said, explaining that human beings are, quote, already partly a cyborg or an AI symbiote whose hardware is merely in need of an upgrade. Asked about how long it might take before mankind goes mute. Wow, my speech processing is slowing down. Must make this text bigger so I can read it on air. Here we go.
See, the connection is slow. We have these computers,
Yes.
but the brain-computer connection is slow. Elon's promising he's going to speed it up for us.
That's right. Help me, Elon. Asked about how long it might take before mankind goes mute, Musk said it could happen in 5 to 10 years in a best-case scenario if the technology continues to develop at its currently rapid pace. Of course, even in the entrepreneur's brave new world, he said some might still choose to speak for, quote, sentimental reasons, even when mouth noises are but a primitive vestige of the past. Gons, what is it going to mean for podcasting when language doesn't mean anything? I'm obviously already having some trouble here.
We're just gonna stare at each other, or actually, we're just gonna know what you're thinking. We're gonna stare at those googly eyes, and you're gonna telepathically
You're just
communicate
gonna get
all of
the
your deep
message
thoughts
right into your
and
brain.
commentary.
That'll
Yeah,
be
because
good.
words, there's an old joke that I won't say, but
I'm liking this. People liked my my Elon impression. There you go. Thank you.
you didn't
people.
stutter enough, though. You got to
That's true.
stutter
He
and
does
slow down and
stutter a
have
lot.
really long dramatic pauses
Oh,
and
man.
weird eye movements.
Yeah.
You forgot that part.
Yeah.
But
okay, so there you go.
It's interesting just because of the whole concept of language and bringing it back to sort of a in this case it's a non-language, but really what he's referencing is kind of this universal language of technology, of I don't know, math, of AI, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating to look at because the jingle here was "As It Were in the Days of Noah," and we know that Noah lived 350 years after the flood, and so
Right.
it's suggested that he was alive during the Tower of Babel. And you look at the Tower of Babel, this is Genesis 11, that first verse. Now the whole world had one language and one form of speech, and of course they weren't telepathically communicating at that time. But it's just interesting that singular language, because he goes on, if you watch the interview with Joe Rogan, he goes on to talk about how you can basically flip different languages, and if you want to talk in one language, you can. You just download it. All these fantastical dreams of his really comes down to having that mathematics, ones and zeros, become that single language for the world. And I don't know. Yeah, he may not ever achieve it. We're gonna have to see. At least he didn't make any any kind of bets or any kind of promises if it doesn't happen. Like he'll eat his belt or something.
No,
But,
he's not afraid of just making wild claims and then seeing what happens. He's kind of like Trump in that way.
I wonder what he thinks of his new child X. Is he probably thinks for sure, he's like, my kid X, he's going to be linked up to the neural lace by the time he's 10 or 12 or something. I mean, it's just a weird.
Probably before that. He's a good guinea pig.
Yeah. And interestingly, something I not found out, something that I realized when I made a little video about the name just right after the whole thing came out. And there's the X, which some people have suggested that X represents the mark of the beast, and in the occult it represents transformation and change.
Mm-hmm.
And the AE symbol, I think it's called the ash.
Ash.
People call it ash. The AE also can mean after effect, and so you have the mark, or you have the transformation, and then the after effect, which is the archangel. So this is it's like a whole equation there. In the name of the baby.
Whole thing.
It's a whole thing. Yeah, a little chin scratcher. But just very, very bizarre. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do, man? Keep an eye on Elon. That's all.
Keep an eye on
Elon has not followed us on Twitch yet. I'm still waiting for him. So Elon, if you're out there, now's the time. Head over to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. Follow us, buddy.
And by the way, just to mention, to connect it back to the whole new age thing that we were talking about before, Elon was pretty critical of the World Health Organization and just the way things were handled by the mainstream media and all that kind of stuff, showing that he's kind of being propped up as a leader of that other side. You know, he's like the new hip billionaire leader because you got your Bezos that owns Washington Post, and you know you're sort of more legacy technocrat billionaires like Bill Gates, obviously in with the WHO and the whole regime there. But Elon's got this new thing going, and I think that again it all appeals to the new agers. His car company Tesla will appeal to the new ager who knows about the Tesla research, and obviously Trump can play very much into that, having his uncle be the first person to look at the Tesla papers after the intel agencies confiscated all that research. So
yeah,
a lot of things to connect there. Very fascinating rabbit trails to go down if you haven't before. But to wrap it up here, we do have a Nephilim update. Anything else on Elon, Basil?
Nope, that's all my Elon news for the day. Okay,
this one's gonna get kind of icky. We used to have in our extended reports, we used to have like icky updates, and this is kind of an icky update, but also it's a Nephilim update.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Welcome to Chinese News.
Ooh, double.
That's mags.com, your source of true information. From sightings to alien sex, a brief history of UFOs in China.
Oh, don't say it
UFOs
like that.
in China. What do you mean like that?
Come on, get it over with. Let's go.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get through this. At 9 p.m. on August 20th, 2011, dozens of air crews flying over Shanghai saw a colossal glowing sphere hanging above the sky and pulsating. Many people speculate that it was a bubble formed by the diffused remnants of rocket fuel outside the atmosphere, says Wu Jialu, director of Shanghai UFO Research Center. But we don't think so. UFO phenomenon is nothing new in China. As early as November 3rd, 1071, the great poet Su Dongpo documented seeing a UFO while staying overnight in Jingshan Temple in Zhenjiang, Jiangsu province. Some 800 years later, painter Wu Yuru produced the first illustrated account of a UFO incident in China. His 1892 work, Red Flames Soaring in the Sky, Qiang Teng Kong, depicts a crowd gathered on Zugu Bridge in Nanjing, once again in Jiangsu province, watching a burning ball across the sky. The work has become a precious historical document for UFO researchers, and here it is. You can, well, at least if you're watching, you can see the image here. It's basically a bunch of Chinese people on a bridge and a big ball in the sky. Shanghai has also experienced plenty of documented UFO incidents. At 8 p.m. on August 27th, 1987, a radiant rotating flying object was witnessed. On the afternoon of October 3rd, 1990, a UFO flying slowly across West Shanghai was videoed by a teacher in Putuo district. Its shape resembled the letter U. At 6 p.m. on March 18th, 1991, a crew of Flight 3665 from Shanghai to Jinan saw a spheroidal UFO disassembled into a sphere and cylinders, then reassembled, its color turning from red to black. Conversations between the crew and control center describing the process were all recorded. Then there are the incidents that Wu Jialu witnessed with his own eyes. And it goes over a few more incidents here and sightings. And there's a part here. I guess I don't have to necessarily go into all the details here, but there's let's see. I should have highlighted some stuff here because I'm losing my grapple of the article. But basically here, this guy found or met or claims he met. Let me do that. Wu says the most bizarre contact in China occurred in June 7th, 1994, when Meng Zhaoguao of Phoenix Mountain, Fujian province, met a female alien. First, there was electricity between them. Then things got amorous.
Ooh, amorous.
Quote, amorous. I was like, yeah, I think I'm saying that wrong.
Amorous.
Amorous. Quote, according to Meng, the female alien looked like a white monster. She was very tall, about 2.5 meters, and wore tight clothes with only her big eyes and private parts exposed. She did something to him that felt like an electric shock, and he passed out. When he came round, he found several scars on his body. According to Wu, she had planted something mung bean-sized into his body. Things were about to get even stranger. Meng had sexual intercourse with the female alien. She suddenly fell down on him. He can hardly move. And his little area felt hot and ached. And the experience was more pleasurable than anything he had ever felt. Oh, I did highlight something.
God,
not an experience we expect.
Steamy at the end of the episode here. My goodness.
I told you it was an icky update. Not an experience we expect he forgot in a hurry? I don't know why it's a question mark. The female alien has been on his mind ever since. 1 year later, he still had little desire to make love to his wife and was physically drained. Although the alien never returned, there seemed to be telepathy between her and Meng. The most common message she transmits to him is about environmental protection. I'll just end it there. Mm-hmm. But of course, environmental protection. So anyway, I know it's a kind of a weird one, but I had no idea that in China they had all these UFO sightings, and along with it, an encounter that resembles very much what we read in Genesis 6 with the sons of God and the daughters of men, but flipped. It's the other way. And so anyway, that's our Nephilim update.
Nephilim update.
Very important work being done here, Gons. And I saw somebody in the chat was saying we should talk with Will from The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. And just to let everybody know, check out Canary Cry Radio episode 133. Canary Cry Radio, search it on your podcatcher, podcast player, whatever, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Canary Cry Radio, episode 133. And for those who don't know, Canary Cry Radio is different from Canary Cry News Talk. They're two separate shows, but all the same fun topic stuff that you want to hear about. Canary Cry Radio is more of an interview style show. And if you want to hear Will from The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, go to Canary Cry Radio episode 133. You can also just search that and you'll find it. So there you go. Let's see. Anything else? I think that's it. Anything else you wanna talk about before we land the plane here, Gonzo?
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Yeah. You got a baby you got to get to, so I will just wrap this up. Here's the thing, folks. Thank you so much for those who went to twitch.tv. Don't leave quite yet because we got some stuff to talk about. Twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio is a great place. I've been monitoring the chat. It seems like Twitch actually had a better connection than YouTube today, so that's fun.
Interesting.
Lots of people trying to pull their friends over from YouTube over to the Twitch. That's where all the cool kids are. Please consider it. I know you YouTube kids don't like it when I talk so much about Twitch, but in these times that we're currently in, Twitch is the best way for Gons and I to support ourselves. So it's either I talk about donations or I talk about heading over and following us on Twitch. So those are the options. Nothing in life is free. Gons, you and I made the decision a long time ago against our better judgment to pledge to not play advertising on the show. Again, some people would rather I play advertising than talk about Twitch or donations, but here's the thing. You need to check your heart there, because what's happening with advertisements is your attention is being sold to corporations who do not care about you except for the purchases, the Swiffer wet jets they can sell you. So, in lieu of that, because we believe that that's part of the corrupt system of this earth, you can head to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. Watch the show live there, and that's going to help unlock a lot of tools that'll help Gons and I support ourselves during this time. Now, a couple of shout outs here. Sloth Lemur. Thanks for following Sloth Lemur.
Sloth Lemur. Where's my mouse?
My
mouse disappeared. Here it is.
Julie Roloff. Thank you, Julie Roloff. Richie and Dollar. Thanks, Richie and Dollar. Another thank you to Bezos #1, not the clone. Happy to have you. Let's see. Oh my gosh. VR world is going out of control right now. TMS Sam. Thank you, TMS Sam. The Thunder Cunder. Oh gosh. I hope I didn't say a bad thing. Tim Revel, thank you very much. Basil made me sign up. Thanks for being here, Basil made me sign up. The Fixer Man is here. This I love. This I've gotten into since the quarantine. This user's name is Lawn Care is Life. I've turned into a middle-aged dad taking care of my lawn during this whole thing. And those are our new followers over on Twitch. Thank you guys so very, very much. And remember, you can also help support Gonz and I in these times by heading over to patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. Nope, that's wrong. Well, you can go there too. Patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. Gonz, if you want to pull up those PayPal shout outs, we can do that real quick. But remember, we are entirely listener supported. We are your essential employees, and those who recognize that and want to keep the show going, you can go to patreon.com/CCNT to support. We've got a bunch of fun rewards there and bonus episodes. We also have bonus episodes and rewards separately at patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. You can check both of those out. But, a lot of people don't like Patreon. We totally get that. It makes it easy for us, but they got in a little bit of hot water a little while back. So if you don't like Patreon, you can go to canarycryradio.com/support. Oh, You're almost
asking me to do multiple things at once.
canarycryradio.com/support. That's right. You can go there. You can sign up with PayPal. You can give a one-time donation if commitment is not your thing. And also, there's fun ways like cryptocurrency and things like that. And also, remember, here's the thing. We read about just how close we are to completely shutting down free speech on the internet, how the internet needs to conform to an evolved and mature society. And luckily for us, somebody is already on the job of solving that problem for those who value free speech. There's something called the decentralized internet. And if you want to learn about the decentralized internet, Gonz created a great resource to learn about decentralization. And you can go to canarycryradio.com/crypto. canarycryradio.com/crypto. I recommend everybody go do that. It's a learning experience. You're going to get a lot of knowledge that you're going to be thankful that you got, and that I imagine not a lot of other people are trying to teach you. So go to canarycryradio.com/crypto. And I want to thank, we had another pledge come in during the show, Gonz, on Patreon. Ooh. And I want to thank Jennifer B for coming in, pledging on Patreon.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer B. You are the best. Okay, anything else, Gonz?
Before we go on here, I do want to thank Luke Matt again. He sent in a couple super chats while we were we were going live. And he had a couple messages. First off, it said he said, to all those people who don't like the stream but like Gonz, you can watch Gonz's other 900 videos on his channel. Face like the sun. Yeah, that's true. I recently broke the 900 mark. And he sent another one. Has anyone heard about Pastor Greg Locke's Facebook post being taken down because he invited people to his church? I have not. I think I heard something about it, but it might have been through Luke Matt mentioned it before or something. I'm not on Facebook. Don't know what's going on in that little world. Yeah. It's interesting how even like Twitter too. Like if you get off the social media, it's like it's as if you don't know what's happening. But the people that think that the world is falling apart on those social media platforms, they got to realize it's just a social media platform. It's just a fraction of reality that they're talking about. Just anybody on social media freaking out.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I hear you. Well, and speaking of everybody on social media freaking out, I want to recommend you're out there, you're following the live streams, you are listening to the podcast, watching the videos. Here's the thing, folks. You guys got friends and loved ones who are still getting their news from the mainstream or, God forbid, Facebook. Here's what you got to do. Step 1, walk right up to him. Step 2, grab him by the cage. And step 3, you gotta shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right, folks. You gotta, here's a great thing to do. Just find an episode or a video of Canary Cry Radio or Canary Cry News Stock and just send it to a friend. No comment. Don't even give them a warning. Just send it and say, if you love me, you'll listen to this. That's a good way to rattle somebody's cage. And so thank you, everybody who has already done that. Remember, you got patreon.com/CCNT. You got canarycryradio.com/support. And here's the thing, folks. We've been trying our darndest to stay consistent during these times, live streaming 3 days a week. That's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, sometime between noon and 5. So make sure to tune in again this coming Monday. And we will be here with a whole nother episode. But here's the thing, until then, you gotta remember to think outside the cage. What?
My baby just handed me her boogie.
A boogie?
A boogie. She handed me a boogie.
A booger?
A booger.
Oh, so...
She just said boogie and she handed it to me. Lovely way to end the show.
Me and your daughter have a lot more in common than I think anybody knows.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to know.
All right, there you go, everybody. Make sure to tune in next time for the next boogie. But until then, everybody, all together now, think outside the cage.
Oh man.
You should play our new fun song.
We will. Relax.
Here's a boogie.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
I can't deal with it right now, Basil.
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.